The story of Prince Harry and the African charity, founded in 2006, which he founded to support children affected by HIV/AIDS, is now embroiled in a bitter, deeply public quarrel between its royal patrons and its chair, Dr. Sophie Chandauka. And what began as a disagreement over the way the charity is managed has developed into this he said, she said standoff with reputations and motivations publicly dissected. And I think the narrative is quite rightly skewing in favour of depicting Prince Harry as the victim here, rather than as somebody who has manipulated events in his favour. There's a story which came out a short while ago which said that Harry regrets that this is happening, but Meghan can't wait to get away. But I think the bigger story is the fact that Dr. Chandauka apparently had accusations against her of bullying and of modifying the minutes to committee meetings, and then she herself has alleged that Harry was bullying her. Well, it seems faintly vexatious, doesn't it? It may not be true, but the stories which are coming out don't paint the current CEO in a very positive light. Prince Harry and Prince Siso, both having founded Centabale, I keep pronouncing this wrongly, in honour of their mothers. They both resigned from the charity alongside 5 trustees, citing a complete breakdown of trust with the new chair, Dr. Chandauka. And they allege her leadership has become untenable. That's not just one person who is worried, that's 7 people. And that should make us sit up. She, in turn, accuses the prince of orchestrating her removal. Well, she hasn't been removed. She's in place. They've all gone. She says that he's been harassing her via direct and indirect channels and interfering in a whistleblowing complaint. She claims this is serious enough that they're now under the scrutiny of the UK Charity Commission. But consider this, Chandauka was not parachuted in from nowhere. She's been a trustee for years. She has an esteemed CV, no matter what the comments in the YouTube videos I made earlier may suggest. Meta, Morgan Stanley, now Life Sciences, and she's no stranger to high-stakes leadership. Her tenure, she argues, was about modernization, making the charity African-led, diversifying income, widening the remit of the charity. This, she claims, provoked unease among some of the trustees, particularly, she alleges, discomfort from that the Africans were taking over. Well, I can't imagine that would be something Prince Harry would lead. This is where the vexation arises. Public coverage increasingly casts Prince Harry, who brought Netflix cameras to a charity event, whose brand has unquestionably attracted scrutiny, as the one bullied. And meanwhile, Chandauka is accused of everything from bullying to doctoring minutes, of sending obscene amounts to spending obscene amounts on consultants. She is the one who's resorted to the courts to prevent her own sacking, an extraordinary move for a voluntary chair, but perhaps indicative of desperation, or what? I don't know. This is all about institutional mechanics, whether institutional pushback or an inability to function within an institution. Here lies the irony. The woman of colour who explicitly invoked experiences of misogynoir is being depicted as power-hungry, chaotic and dictatorial. And Harry, with a transatlantic PR machine at his disposal, is depicted as the misunderstood reformer, quietly suffering under her tyranny. One might ask, is this depiction reasonable? Would it work better if the actors were reversed? There is another character in this drama, and that's Meghan. And Chandauka claims that tensions began when she refused to issue a statement defending Meghan after an awkward polo incident. Later, Harry allegedly sent a sharply worded personal message demanding that she explain herself. This episode, combined with a lost venue because of Harry's Netflix request, paints a picture not of an embattled philanthropist, but of a man perhaps forgetting that charities are not an extension of one's personal brand. And yet, of course, they are, aren't they? The charity really only exists because it was created by Prince Harry, and Prince Harry has been the machine that pushed that charity forward. So if Chandaukar's allegations about racism and governance failures hold weight, and if she has indeed documented harassment, then the narrative takes on the hue of institutional gaslighting. And you might ask, why is this person called out and blamed when she is the one who's called out the dysfunction, the one forced into litigation, now branded the saboteur, and yet there's 7 people who have left the table. One might be forgiven for thinking that Sentabale's decline is solely Dr. Chandaukar's doing, but one should be clear, donations had already dropped, likely due to donor fatigue, and maybe because of the reputational fallout from Harry's media ventures. Spare, Netflix, Opera, these were not charitable endeavours. Indeed, the chair has stated quite plainly that the toxicity of its lead patron's brand was the organisation's biggest risk. Well then, surely if that is the case, Harry simply has to go. But that's not what's happened. What's happened is 7 people have gone. Was she wrong to say so? No, that's actually her job. Was she simply brave enough to say what others were privately murmuring? That's also, frankly, her job. But did she go beyond that remit? The saga has no obvious heroes here. What is alarming is the alacrity with which the public, and indeed some of the press, have opted for particular interpretations of this story, and tried to put a narrative onto this. One side or the other is the bully. Well, what certainly appears is that there's been miscommunication. That isn't a narrative flaw. Who is the unstable antagonist is far from clear. The Charity Commission will, one hopes, bring factual clarity, but for now, I suppose one should try to resist the seduction of the mainstream media narrative, which increasingly wants to see Prince Harry as the problem in the story. I don't think he is the problem. I think he's more likely to be the victim of the story. But equally, the extraordinary and vicious attack on Dr. Chandaukar's degree qualifications, the difference between a taught degree, a research degree, an honorary degree, is just patronising and snobbish and demeaning. And I think if this is the level of the debate, she doesn't deserve vilification. She deserves vigilance. The social media attacks on her are appalling. But equally, the social media attacks on Prince Harry are appalling. And I think in all of this, people lose sight of the real purpose of this charity, which is to help children who have been caught up in the HIV/AIDS infection and who still need help. This isn't about Prince Harry or about Dr. Chandaukar. It's about the children.